afternoon, everyone. Should we start? Is it one? Good? Good to start? Okay. The light is on, so hopefully you guys can hear me. I know this is such a crowded room. You might not hear what have to say. Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. My name is Katerina Alcorn. I work for DON CDAO office. It's the DON Chief Data and AI Officer office. And today I will present to you the Zero Trust Metrics Collection System that one of the teams that I'm leading has created in partnership with the CISA office. The slide deck was designed for an hour-long presentation, but then luckily they shortened it to half hour. So I might skip a few slides or go pretty quick. I also want to leave some time for questions if there are any. So the structure of the presentation will be, I'll talk a little bit to you about what Zero Trust is, and then how my office is involved in it. And then in the end, I'll show you some slides, screenshots of the application that we built, and also the dashboard. Okay? So Zero Trust is the term for an evolving set of cybersecurity paradigms. So it's not something that it's not a guidance that we can just go and check the boxes and be compliant. It's more of a framework, right? And if you attended a few sessions today, there's going to be a few more tomorrow. They'll talk to you a lot more about the Zero Trust, right? Who needs to be compliant, by when, and the implementation plans that the DON has created. I will probably take about 5 minutes to go over that. So if you want more information, like I said, attend tomorrow's presentation by David Walker, and he has a whole hour to talk to you about that. But basically, in 2021, we had the executive order that initiated the migration to Zero Trust architecture. By the way, Zero Trust means we don't trust anyone, right? We can't just trust someone because they are on the network. We have to assume the worst, and then they have to prove us wrong to get access, basically. So in 2022, the DoD released Zero Trust strategy. The year after, DON released the implementation plan. And in 2024, if you were here on Monday, you heard Ms. Rasban was talking about the information superiority vision. Zero Trust was outlined as one of the main target efforts there. So for the DON, currently as it states, we want all the networks to be compliant with Zero Trust by FY27. Every other program, system, and application in the DON has to be compliant with Zero Trust by FY2030. So it seems like we have some time, but as you all know, the time goes by pretty quick. So Zero Trust has 7 capability pillars. I guess let me go to this page. Each capability pillar has 45, it has capabilities under it, and each capability has several activities. So when we're talking about, your system or your application has to be Zero Trust compliant by FY2030 or FY27, what we're saying is that 91 target level activities have to be completed by that time. And then if it applies to you, then you have an extra 61 advanced level activities to worry about. So in the DoD Zero strategy, for each component, and DON is a component of DoD, right? The main imperatives were to demonstrate the target level of Zero Trust, conduct assessment of their Zero Trust implementation, develop the maps and plans of how we're going to get there, and also adapt Zero Trust capabilities and processes and solutions. So the problem statement that the DON came across is, okay, it's already hard enough to understand what we need to do. It's already hard enough to follow the implementation plan because it's not, super detailed. You still need to do a lot of work for your specific system and command to understand what needs to be done to be compliant. But when you're talking about leadership, echelon ones, DoD, how do we understand where we are as the organization in terms of progress towards achieving Zero Trust, and how do we relay it to leadership in real time? So the DON's problem was that we have over 1,500 active systems, programs, applications, and network that need to report on a quarter basis how they're doing are they on track to be zero trust compliant by FY27 or FY30. And we also want it to be done in a way that whenever someone asks a question, we don't need to send a data call to 20 different organizations or find a person who's technical enough to actually talk about this single application, roll it all together. We want to be able to answer the question. So that is the problem statement, one of the problem statements with the zero trust. Again, if you want to learn more about the implementation of what needs to be done specifically for systems or a network that you manage, that would be a different presentation. So how does Chief Data and AI Officer Office gets involved in that? So this is an Echelon 1 organization, and we work on the different pillars. One of them is the enterprise data, analytics, and AI services. And specifically, Automation Strike Team follows under that category. Automation Strike Team is one of the teams that I lead. And the goal for the team, there are a few goals, right? One is to evaluate enterprise-level services, but the biggest one is to automate manual processes, right? As well as advanced data maturity. So we're a Chief Data and AI Officer Office. We're dealing with the data, AI analytics. In this example, data is the more important one. Zero trust progress reports is data. So we want to do it right? We don't want to have 1,500 plus spreadsheets that some people forget to submit, or someone sends us a PowerPoint, and we want to make it, we want to become a data-centric organization. There's 2 days of CDAO tracks at this conference where we talk about how we want to get under data and get it under control. So automation team was established basically to go and take specific use cases and help them out get to the data maturity. So this was a great use case for us, right? Because it hasn't been done yet. So far, the responses on the implementation of zero trust there wasn't a systematic way to track them. So it was either a data call or people submitting reports to their leadership. So there was an opportunity for us to go and create something. Automation Strike Team also evaluates enterprise services, meaning that we don't want to go and call the industry and get someone to come and do it for us. We want to see what's already available for the Department of the Navy, evaluate the platforms or the services, and then provide, I guess, our report saying whether it's something that we would be endorsing or not at the enterprise level. So for the Zero Trust Metrics Collection System, for this specific project, we were working in the Power Platform, but we had a premium environment for the DON, meaning that it involved Dataverse as a backend and a few other security features. So in July 2023, we started reaching out to our partners at DON CTO and CISO and trying to find people who are working on Zero Trust, who are in charge of leading it and implementing it. Of course, when we come in and saying, hey, we're here to help you, you don't need to pay us anything, we're just doing it because we want the data to be good. We found partnerships pretty quick. And it took the team about 6 months from the beginning, from the requirements gathering to creating and deploying an application. It went live in January. And we were able to get access to the DON users, both Navy and Marine Corps, as long as they had a CAC, because it was on flying speed. Once the application rolled out, we had really good feedback. I'll talk more about the application itself in a little bit, but it is an automated solution, right? The users only put in the data once. It's standardized, there's data quality checks, there's some other logic we implemented which is called inheritance, meaning that we can see how systems are interconnected and which systems provide which zero trust capabilities to other systems. So there was quite a good amount of work that needed to be done, and the team has successfully completed that. After it went live in January, we started having data entered by different organizations, and in May, we briefed the DoD Zero Trust PFMO office. At that time, DoD was looking for a solution that they can deploy across the whole department. And at that time, the Navy, with our solution, was pretty far ahead. So they asked us to go and implement the DoD version of the app. They had a bit of different requirements. First of all, they didn't have premium environments, so we had to rework the backend and find other ways to make sure that the data is secure and editable only by those who submit it or their command, but not others, and so on. So it took us 3 months to create a DoD version of metrics collection system, and in August it was completed. From August until November was our transition period. So again, the strike team is not in business to come in, create something, and then sustain it indefinitely. Definitely not until 2030, right? We want to go after new problems and new automation possibilities in the department. So it took us 3 months to transition the app, all the documentation, the management, the access control to DoD office, and in December, we were fully done. We still provide support on an as-needed basis, but if you have any questions or if you can't access the app, if you're done, you can reach out to our team, but if you are anyone else from the DoD, you would be reaching out to Zero Trust BFMO office. So how did we approach it, right? We had the problem, which is the DON, and then later on, the DoD needed a way to track progress towards, of systems and programs towards being Zero Trust compliant. And we had the technical expertise and the resources who could create that. We had the platform that we were evaluating in the meantime. And so there are a few requirements and approaches that we wanted to take note of in the very beginning. We wanted to make sure that we provide a user-friendly application. We wanted to make sure that the user, it's easy for users to use it, right? How did it work before? It was a data call, it was an Excel template, you had to find someone to fill it out, send it out, and then maybe have another data call 2 weeks later or a year later, and that you can maybe forget about or you submit partially. It was a mess. So with the application and the ETMS2 tasker, the users got an email, the system owners from DON, and they had a link. So once they clicked on the link, they got access to the application. The application already had connection to DON data, so a lot of the information was pre-filled for the user. They just had to pick the system and provide extra fields that weren't captured in the authoritative data sources. And then once they entered their information, initially it's a pretty big lift, right? If we're talking about 91, was it 91 or 61? 91 target level and 61 advanced level activities. But once you enter it once you provide comments, dates, supporting documents, you don't have to ever do it again. The only thing that you will be asked to do is provide deltas. So if something changes next week, you can go back to the application, check the system for which there was a change, and just update one of the activities. Or you can wait for another reminder. We have automated workflows where users would get emails reminding them to go and update if they haven't touched it in a few months. So that helped the users, I think, I hope. But it also helped our office, DON CISO, DON CTO, because the data that they were getting all of a sudden became standardized, right? And all of a sudden it was available in one spot with no need for any manual aggregation. And the application itself, of course, we could put some restrictions on fields. Some fields had to be of specific formats, other fields are required. So in general, the data that you're getting back is of a better quality, let's say that, than it would have been if it was in Excel. That also made it easy for us to create some visualizations, right? So that if someone asks, how is NAVC doing on the Zero Trust, you can go on the dashboard, filter it to NAVC, and you can answer a lot of questions. The app itself is the data collection. The dashboard is where we do a lot of trends. You can see which systems are waiting for Zero Trust capabilities from, let's say, networks that they're going to be inheriting them from, which systems are providing the capabilities to others. What's the tentative end date? Has it passed? Have the system identified risks in funding or in just accomplishing the zero trust compliance by FY 2030 or 27 and so on. So I'm going to talk real quick about the application, the backend, the front end, and then I'll show you the dashboards with synthetic data, and then I'll open it for questions since it's a small group and there is no need to really talk that long. I'd rather have you guys ask questions. So the zero trust metrics collection system backend model is pretty simple. We're looking at three data models. One is for the system level, which is whenever the user first enters information for one or multiple systems, they have to provide the data that we're asking for. Again, it's not all the data, right? We're really trying to go and get as much as possible from DON or other authoritative sources on Jupyter. Jupyter is, by the way, managed out of DON CDAO office, so it's in some sense a lot easier for us to get the data connection, but there's still challenges. And so, limiting the burden that the users experience as much as possible. The status table is the biggest one. That's where we collect and store all the information about each of the target and advanced level activities for each of the system. And then the activity table is something that we're getting from the implementation plan, from DoD strategy. It's the description of the capabilities and then the definition of done. So with that, I'll show you screenshots of how the application's looking like. So once you click on that link, like I was telling you, you can also access it from the Teams channel, by the way. You have an option to either input the new system or update existing system. So if this is the first time you're using it, by the way, I don't know if any of you got the tasker. If you haven't, you might. Again, it is already managed and fully implemented by DoD. So if you are managing any of the network application system, even if you're inheriting all the zero trust capabilities from someone else, you would have to respond to this and just for each activity mark, inherit it from something else. But I hope you have either seen it or you will shortly, in the next few months probably. So once you first get it, you click input new system information. It takes you to the system screen. Some fields would be pre-filled, and again, this is all fake data. The developers just put in, came up with some names there, so you could see the front end. So you're providing, the system names. If you don't see it in DON, if you don't have the ID that you can connect to, you can always add a system. We give users a lot of customization, but at the same time, whenever possible, of course, we're trying to do drop-downs for data standardization purposes. So anyways, once you submit these fields, and this is about maybe half or a third of what's actually asked of you, again, kind of a big lift in the beginning, but you only have to do it once, right, and not anymore. Once you click Update System Record, it takes you to the status screen. So this is what you will see for each of the activities, right? On the top, you can filter to either target or advanced level zero trust activities. Then you pick a pillar that you want. Remember, there's 7, and then you pick the activity ID. Once you hover over fields, it's going to help you and guide you of what to choose, what to input, what does it mean to be done. You have the description of the activity. And then the interesting part here, or of course the status, interesting part is the inheritable activity and inherited activity. So when we first started working on this, we were talking to zero trust leads in the DON, asking them, how do you know which systems need to implement this specific zero trust capability and which would just simply inherit it from their umbrella parent, from a network or from the cloud. And there wasn't an easily available data source that would answer that question. So as you go here and as you complete each activity status, you can mark it as inheritable, meaning that you would be providing this. It will become available as a choice for other applications that will be filling this out after you. Or you can say that you are inheriting this activity, and then there's going to be a drop-down that will show you all the programs that have marked this activity inheritable before. But if you don't see it, like if you're inheriting it from, I don't know, Keynes or something, and they haven't filled it out yet, there's always an option for you to free type it. It's just a bit more cleaning for the team on the back end. Again, this is for each activity, right? We're asking for a tentative start date, end date, so that we can, one of the dashboards is talking about the risk if you're getting too close to the tentative end date and you're not providing comments and you're not providing updates, or you're waiting on someone else to give you the inheritance option of this activity. That's something that could be flagged on the front end for leadership to see. You can attach files, you can write comments, and so on. So if you see on top, I'm under the form tab. There's also activity status, so that once the user clicks there, they can see which activities they have completed and which ones they haven't. So it's not like you have to come in and answer 150 plus questions right away. You can take your time doing it. So let's say you completed that, you click submit, automatically the data goes to the SharePoint on the DISA side. I will talk a little bit more about where the data goes from there, and spoiler, it doesn't stay there, it eventually makes its way to Advana. But for the user, they click submit, they're pretty much done, unless you have more systems or networks or applications to report on. So let's say it's been 3 months, and you have another tasker saying, hey, has there been any updates? So you go back to the application and you click on the update existing system information, and depending on the user email, you can see which forms or which systems you have submitted for. You click on the, and the last day that it was submitted, you click on the arrow there, and it brings back the forms. So you can modify your submissions from last time. So nothing crazy, right? We didn't build something that will use AI ML to crawl through your data and determine the zero trust progress for you. But we built something that is hopefully easier for end users to respond to. We're hoping that it will allow them to get rid of the spreadsheets that they're maintaining, and at the same time, Zero Trust BFMO office at the DoD level is able to see in real time the visualizations of where all the components and up to, I believe this one right now is up to echelon 2 organizations are in terms of the system reporting. And of course, you can look at specific system if you want to. So the takeaways from this is that we were able to do it in 6 months when we did it for DON and 3 months when we did it for DoD. I think throughout the work at the CDAO office, there are multiple initiatives that we have. We're striving to do it and do it quick, and also transition off of it, right? If we just keep accumulating work, eventually and pretty quick, we won't be able to operate. So coming in, seeing a problem, optimizing it, and getting out to do something else is something automation team was created to do. The data is secure. Like I said, it's in this environment. It does go to SharePoint. We did use Dataverse for the DON, but for DoD, after several conversations, we decided to use something else. It does go to Advana right now. They're working on the automated connection that should be implemented shortly, where it would not require any manual work. Nobody has to touch it. It goes directly to Advana, and there's already pipelines there that feed into the dashboards and store and process the data on the back end. It was a low cost. This was already available, especially with no premium, right? It's in Office 365. You can go and do it if you want. Low code environment. We did provide the evaluation of the platform. We tried to see what, push it to the limit and see what we can do in terms of security and in terms of the front-end development. It's accessible. We had some problems initially when we were working on the DON side with Marine Corps getting access, since they're in different tenant, but we were able to overcome them. And we created a few dashboards. Again, right now, they're transitioned to Zero Trust BFMO office. Eventually, they will go away because they're in Power BI, and they're going to be using only Advana dashboards, since all the data is going to be there. It's the authoritative data place for the department. I have 5 minutes, but let me just take 1 minute to quickly show you the dashboard, since the team worked hard on creating the fake data that you see here. This is the dashboard for the Department of the Navy, but this one's better. It's for the Department of Defense, and the reason it's better is because in the screenshot you could see the tabs on the bottom. So here it's just the summary page that's shown, same as the previous page for the DON, but the tabs were cropped out here. If you look at it, we had, I believe, close to 10 different tabs that show different information that the leadership wanted to see, and similar information will be created in Advana, and also similar information will be available eventually on the SIPR side. Right now we're just on NIPR. So with that, I do have 5 minutes left, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Yes?
I noticed when you went back in after initial and went to update,
Mm-hmm.
at the top it had username and then the systems that person put in.
Yes.
That person just got hit by a trolley out front.
Yes.
How do we take care of that inside of the system?
Yes, so for the DON, so for DoD, let me just talk about DoD, right? Because right now the app at the DoD level, it's in the backlog. The list of users. So once you submit the progress of the application, you can provide email addresses of people who are able to go in and also see this record and also modify it. And you're going to be able to see who it was modified by last. So you can have a system, or you can have a list of users who are allowed to work on the report for one system. Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
It's not implemented yet, but it's in the backlog, so it's gonna.
Not done yet.
It's not done yet, no.
So right now if it's in,
There's
the
a
person
microphone. Oh.
gets
Well-
in, resigns, whatever, it's stuck, and you have to go through the manual process, correct?
Yes, you have to send an email to support team, and they just switch it in the back.
Thank you.
Okay, so sorry, I got a few questions. So Tim Martin, I'm a regional vice president with AFCM over Utah, Washington state chapters. My day job, I work for the Department of Treasury, but we are in the process of implementing Zero Trust as well, so I definitely want to pick your brain. I think everything you said challenge-wise, implementation-wise, ditto for us. We're seeing all the same things. So a few quick questions. My concern if you're having the user input the data is validation and verification.
Yes.
Because my experience is if you rely on the users to tell you they're compliant, their first answer is yes. So how do you quality control that?
So I'll talk very briefly about that, but I can tell you tomorrow, I think at 9:15, David Walker is going to be talking about it, and specifically he will mention the next steps, which is deploying red teams to go and verify the inputs. Also, there is, at least on the Navy side, I'm not sure if DoD kept it or not, but we had the users enter the APME email address so that once they submit it, the email gets generated, being sent to their superior, and they can review it, and then they can reach out and say, hey, you did something wrong, we're not there. But
Okay.
it is still subjective, I
Yes,
agree.
yes. Okay, so another quick one. What do you do in the instance of cloud providers? With the assumption you have them, and then they may not be sharing any data with you at all. How do you validate that?
You mean, how do we validate that the cloud providers, the cloud providers, if they're aligning to Zero Trust principles?
Yes.
That will be for DoD Zero Trust BFMO office to enforce.
Okay, last one. Assuming that the Department of Navy is similar to the Department of Treasury, and when I worked with DoD, we have a whole lot of legacy applications out there. Many things that we wrote in-house that no one knows the source code of anymore.
Yeah.
How do you get those into compliance when there's really not an upgrade option?
I think the best answer is probably cyber ready. So we do have, yes, okay. Again, I think other presentations touch on that. We are pushing cloud for most systems whenever feasible, but it is not up to my team, at least, to enforce it. This is mostly just collecting the status progress and highlighting if the entities haven't responded or shared data with us. Thank you. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.